because I consider myself not only an artist, but a jack of all trades. Art is also something you really kind of have to work for. When I was younger, I drew a lot and all that, but then I sort of discovered TV, so I dropped off the artistic world, and after a while my mom told me that I had to find a hobby. So she took me to Staples, where she bought me my very first sketchbook, which I have right here, with what is possibly one of the worst drawings I've ever seen, if you want to see that. And if you look at the outside of the sketchbook, it's actually upside down. But this is actually my most recent sketchbook, with one of my favorite drawings in it, which is really easy to find because it's the one completely covered in black marker. So I've had lots of improvement. I've worked very hard at that, and I'm quite proud. When I was in junior high, I not only worked on my art, but I also volunteered at a pet store for all 3 years of junior high. I would clean cages and feed and water the animals, and I'd vacuum up after the birds, and I'd get crickets for customers, and I wasn't allowed to work the cash register because I was volunteer. And I also crewed for some of the plays here at South Kitsap. And what that has shown me is that I really enjoy a good working atmosphere, knowing that you have responsibility for something, and you have a job to do, and you need to get it done. And to me, art is not just a fun hobby, it's also an entire social community. I have friends who can draw, and friends who can't draw, and friends who try to draw and might think they even can. But all of my friends and I get together on Wednesdays after school at Anime Club, and what anime is it's people who drew at one point, and they've got so good at it that they take those drawings and turn them into movies and TV shows. So we sit in Anime Club and we watch these movies and TV shows, and we draw and we talk and we play games. And one of my favorite games is you sit in a circle and you all take out a blank sheet of paper and you draw for 3 minutes. And when 3 minutes is up, you pass that paper to the person on your right. And the person over here passed you the paper, and you draw for 3 minutes, and you pass it to the person on your right. And you do that until you get your original drawing back, because you're sitting in a circle. And those are really fun because it shows you what other people see in your art, because it can make a story, or it'll just be completely insane. And while I don't have any of those drawings, I did draw this while I was in Anime Club. And I really like it because I don't typically use markers. This was one of my first attempts at markers, and it didn't turn out very well. But I really like this one because I used a very little amount of marker, and the wings came out just great. In junior high, for working so hard on my art, I also got Art Student of the Year for 2006-2007. And I got an award for that, and it was presented to me in front of the entire school, which I'm very proud of. And I also got a certificate of recognition from my employer from the pet store. For me, art's kind of been my entire life. And I hope for in the future, I get to use my art skills in a job if my current plan does not work out for me. Art was never really something for my future. It was sort of a fun pastime, but then I realized that what I could do is I could do what inspired me to draw in the first place, and that was to make those movies and TV shows that I saw. And that's what got me to draw, and I hope I can inspire other people as well. What my plan to do is, when I graduate from high school, I hope to go into the Army already taken the ASVAB for, and I've passed, and we just have some final paperwork to crunch up. And when I'm done with that, and I finish my 4 years in the Army, it will pay for 100% of my college, as well as books and dorm. So I can go to college and I can learn 2D animation and 3D animation and all of that to then become an animator, which an animator actually earns about $50,000 a year, plus bonuses and benefits, which ends up being $75,000 a year. And my dream job, which is probably highly unlikely, but it's like the golden halo in my future. I hope to work with Hayao Miyazaki at Studio Ghibli, which actually partners up with Disney sometimes to make movies that you may or may not have heard of. Ponyo came out recently in 2008, and the first movie that he ever made was in 1984. So he's a really old guy. And I heard that 40 to 50 people apply for each position whenever there's an opening. So obviously, it won't be too easy, but it's still my golden halo.